Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Money with Alpha, where I'm bringing you the lovely Frances Scadden. Hi, Frances.
Hi, Alpha.
I'm very
Excited to
excited.
be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here because we always have such good conversations. And even before we hit record, we were starting to go down a path. I thought before we go too far, let's hit record and continue the conversation.
Yeah, good
So,
idea.
you are a confidence coach.
I am a confidence coach. So I guess my full title is empowerment coach, and I'm a speaker. But my focus is confidence.
Yes. Yeah. And I've seen you speak as well. And I loved the way you did it. It was very engaging. And you had an alter ego, which I thought was quite fun too.
That's right,
And
Francine. Yep.
yes, that's right. And how as humans, especially as women, we wear so many different hats. So we can quite often have alter egos depending on what situation we're in. And having the level of confidence and the feeling of empowerment, self-empowerment is different. And you specialize women in their 40s, which is what we were just talking about, how being in that decade is so different to any of the what we've previously experienced because we have like a new identity, a new feeling of power. We just don't know what to do with it or how to harness it.
We're not
So
even sure where it comes from. I think you even just said this before we hit record. It's like it just all of a sudden, hello, I'm 40. What now? Who am I now?
yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
so we'll delve into that a bit more, but how about just maybe give the listeners and the viewers, because this will also be video too, a bit of your history and how you came from where you were to where you are now and what's triggered you doing what you do now.
So this is always an interesting question because it always depends on how far back you want to go. But I, I guess my earliest recollection of knowing that this was some form of my purpose was I was probably in primary school. So
Mhm.
I was young. I was very much an introvert. I had a lot of trouble speaking up, but when I was around my family, I was super loud. And I was always being told, you're too loud, you need to be quieter. Um, and so I would try and sort of dull down my loudness.
Mm,
And in that, dull down some of my personality, which I didn't realize that was what was happening.
yes.
So I grew up as the youngest daughter, the only daughter. There was about 11 years difference between me and my eldest brother. And I watched my mum, a real powerhouse, very independent woman, but she was in what would now be classed as a domestic violence situation. My dad was an alcoholic,
Mm,
and and there was lots of upheavals. You'd wonder what the emotions were going around, but I was got to be quiet. I've got to be quiet. Don't cause any trouble. And that kind of continued on throughout my teenage years. And then when it came time to find a job, what to do after high school, I just listened to what everybody else suggested because I didn't know. I
yeah.
didn't know what I wanted to do. I all of a sudden realized I didn't think I was any good at anything. And then, as it turns out, it didn't really matter because I fell pregnant about a year after leaving high school. So, so I started my family really young. I then moved into being a single parent. So I had two children, single parent, and fell into retail.
Hmm.
And that was where kind of, I guess, my love for got to fight for the common good of other people. I could see what was happening in retail.
Hmm.
And that was when I moved into human resources. I went into uni, thank goodness for my mum again, because she looked after the kids. And I went to uni and fought through getting through uni and ended up in a corporate career.
Hmm.
There were parts of it I loved, and there were parts of it I still hadn't worked out why, but I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I thought it was me. I thought I was broken. I thought there was something wrong with me. And for an introvert, I fell into roles that put me in public speaking. So I kind of learned that I like to just go, the hell with it. I'm going to challenge myself. I think I want to have a go at that, so I'm going to do it. And that's still very much part of me. So what I discovered a couple of years ago was human design.
Hmm.
And since I've delved into who I really am, in terms of my human design. It also has taken me back to all the other personality tests that I've done, um, Myers-Briggs and all of those. And I just found so much power in investigating who you are.
Mhm.
And that what I found along the way was that our identity never stays the same.
Yeah.
And there's lots of reasons for that. Some of it's societal conditioning, some of it's the way we've watched our influences, our mums and dads,
Mm.
and some of it is just what is ingrained in us.
Mhm.
And so, what I try to do is help women find what is ingrained with them, and then they can then work on the beliefs and the societal conditioning and kind of work on more being who they truly are ingrained to be, along with all of those beliefs that they've come up with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting, like you said, when you were finishing high school and you didn't know what to do, so you just listened to everyone else. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same with our beliefs. We don't know who we are yet. So, to a certain extent, we've got our training wheels on, which is other people's stuff.
Exactly.
But at what point do we have to kind of go, okay, which is my stuff and which is everyone else's stuff? We
Yeah.
never really do that because A, we don't know to do it. And secondly, how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean,
Sometimes it
at
takes
17, you think
time.
it all just falls in your lap. You are who you are.
Yeah.
It's just who you are. And you're right, we're not taught to do it. We're not, I mean, it's much more spoken about now, but it definitely wasn't back then. But that question of or that statement about find your why,
Yeah.
it's a continuous, ever evolving why, and it never stays as one thing.
Yeah.
All of the different hats that we put on through our life,
Mm.
getting married, becoming a career woman, uh, being a mother, all of those things, it's a different hat each time,
Yeah.
and comes with it a little portion of a new identity.
Yes. And I find as women, like I said before we hit record, I was reflecting recently on how we kind of take things on through the different decades of our life.
Yes.
And we spend our time doing and doing and doing and doing for so long. And when we get to our 40s, I feel like we start to feel like we want to be rather than do so much. But then we're in the
Yes.
cycle of busyness and we've got, kids or grandkids in your case. You now
Yeah,
have another
yeah,
grandbaby.
yeah,
And then there's another role. You've gone from being you sort of quite, you were a mother for a long time. Like I only became a mum at the age of 36. So I had a
yeah,
lot longer to sort of be on my own, and try and figure myself out and then have a child. And it is a different journey, but we sort of end up kind of in the not the same place, but we sort of still end up asking the
very
same
similar
questions.
struggles. Yeah, that's right. And that's because it's a human it's just a normal human behavior to continue to seek out. I mean, some people go deeper than others, and that's okay. Again, we're not all born to go as deep as everybody else. If we were
Yeah,
all born to be the same,
yeah,
you know. But when we start to really look at our purpose, or why do we do what we do, or how come this isn't working the way I want it to work, or why do they look like they make it look so easy and I feel like it's a struggle, these are all really normal questions for us to ask.
mm,
And again, we're not ever, or definitely in my era of being younger than 40, we we just kind of weren't shown that that was totally normal to do that.
yeah,
And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's okay to ask those questions and still actually go, no, I'm okay being the way I am. Or, no, I want to change a few things.
yeah,
Or I want to slide into this new identity. But you're so right. We've got this go, go, go mentality,
mm,
because 17 onwards we just want to have fun, right? We just want to live life till its fullest, try all the different things,
yeah,
experiment. And once we have kids, we're still experimenting. We still don't know what we're doing. We just pretend, and that's where we start to learn to pretend a little bit more.
yeah,
um, but we're always investigating. And I think it's okay to be curious. In
Hmm.
fact, I promote it. Be as
Yeah,
curious as you like, but
yeah,
also, as in human design, I'm a Manny-Gen. So if I see something, I want to go for it that
yeah,
lights me up, and I just go for it. So, but once I knew that, once I understood why I was behaving that way, why I had this kind of invisible pull to
yeah,
do things like that,
yeah.
you begin to accept, and that just being that we want to do when we hit our 40s
Mm.
becomes a little bit easier. We still get the tug, got to do, got to do, got to do. I was
Yeah.
even talking to, I do a morning walk every day, and most times now it's a walk and talk. So I over the phone with someone, and I was talking today about how, finding it harder to wake up in the mornings. We forget that our circadian rhythm totally changes throughout winter, the cooler months.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think it's okay to slow down. We
Yeah.
still get up at the same time. We still start work at the same time. Kids have got to be at school at the same time.
Yes.
Um, Nothing really in our society changes, and yet our bodies are saying,
It's
you're
winter.
supposed to, yeah,
Hibernate.
we got to hibernate. That's right. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that we don't become aware of those things and then act on that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I was just listening to a podcast yesterday about she's a doctor who talks about how we go through as women, we go through different all four seasons pretty much in a month.
Yes,
So in our
yes,
monthly cycle, and
yes.
there is that time for the taking a step back and relaxing and not pushing. And
Hmm.
then as we start to enter sort of go into spring where we start to get ideas and our creativity kicks in, and then the summer cycle where it all just really keeps going. So we're in that, but then we've actually got like the physical seasons, and admittedly in Brisbane where we live, we have them a little bit more, softly.
Yes, but
We
they
don't
still
get snow,
exist.
but it was chilly this morning. It was
It
like
was
13
chilly.
degrees. So yeah, I had my jacket on when I started my bike ride. Halfway through it, I took it off, but still, I needed it to start with.
That's right.
But yeah, but it is very much listening to what our bodies are doing, listening to nature, being
Mm,
more in tune with the seasons and with what's going on around us. On a rainy day, there's a reason why we just want to like huddle up and read a book,
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
the earth is kind of huddling up. All the animals, they're also huddling up too. They're not out trying to run marathons and do all the things. They're huddling up too. I was like, let's just
That,
watch what the animals are doing.
that's exactly right. Nature, if we were to pay a little bit more attention to what's happening outside in the universe, in the nature, we would kind of see what we were born to be like.
Yes, the
Yeah,
instinctiveness of it. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We may have evolved,
Yeah.
but evolution doesn't necessarily take away the fundamentals. And the
Yes. Yeah.
fundamentals are so big in pretty much in everything, right? Money, confidence, living with purpose, having children, all of those things is basic fundamentals in our life. Eating is all fundamentals, and I think
Yeah.
it's we've tried to move so far away to show that we're independent, strong, courageous people, that we've kind of moved away from some of the fundamentals, and have forgotten that they exist and that it's okay to go back to those.
Yes. Yeah. And to be able to reach out, ask for help, have some vulnerability. I mean, somebody just has to
Community.
say they need some help, and it's amazing how many people come to help and come rushing.
Yeah.
My mum and my daughter and I, as you know, we did some markets over the last few weekends.
Yes.
Literally the first day we're trying to put up a gazebo that we'd
The rain.
borrowed, and one end was broken, and sure enough, I think you even told me the plant guy came to help us put it up, like literally came running over. No question. And then every single time, if we've needed some help, sort of putting things away or get like I brought the bicycles on the last day because my daughter was getting a bit bored. So we were cycling a bit here and there and trying to get the bicycles like is like Tetris organized on the
Yes.
back of the car. And the gentleman next to us came to ask to help. I was like, I can do this myself, but it's actually kind of nice to let someone else help. So they get to have the pleasure of helping and I get to be helped, which
such a good point.
took a lot of effort on my
Yeah.
part to say, yes, please help, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I can do this, but no, that's not the point at this moment to prove I
There's
can do it.
nothing to prove. That's right. We're not actually on earth to prove anything to anybody, not even to ourselves. You know, those memes that I see, oh, drive me crazy. Best of intentions, but the memes that talk about you're not in competition with anybody else, just with yourself. You're not
Hmm.
even in competition with yourself. Life
No.
is not a competition. Life is just breathing, eating, enjoying sunshine,
Yeah.
sleeping, catching up with friends. Community is a very large part of living.
Yes.
And that's what you've just spoken to. You know, we have learnt over time it's not okay to ask for help. You know, we
Mm.
don't need a community.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the pandemic also stripped our, oh my God, no community, strips
Yeah.
that from us.
Yeah.
Um, but it's actually community that we really need.
Yes. Yeah. And
It's why
it's
we seek out
fulfilling.
relationships. It's why it's a human fundamental need.
Yeah.
Got to find the right ones. That takes some practice. That's some messy action right there.
Yeah.
But we definitely need the community, and you make such a great point in that it is fulfilling for somebody else to actually help us.
Yeah.
We do take that away. Same as women, we like to jump in and say, "Hey, can I help?"
Yeah.
There is a part of us that actually wants to help, and it's taken away when other people say no.
Yes. Yes. And I've that's a lesson I've like, because I get asked for help and I offer help quite a lot, but I don't always allow the help.
Mm.
And it's taken a couple of really good friends to say to me, I like to be able to help you too. I thought, oh yeah, I guess
Yeah,
haven't realized that it's only really been one way, and not because of their lack of wanting to, but then I haven't allowed it as well. So, and
yeah,
that's that, like you said, takes the right people being around you and
it
having
does.
that safe space and allowing it too. But um, with the confidence side of it, how did that sort of come about? Because it's an interesting one. Like I used to be very lacking in self-confidence when I was in my early 20s.
Mm,
And over time it's kind of come a little bit with age, but if it doesn't come naturally with age, how do you help people recognize it? And what even is confidence? Because that's another thing I think we often
mm.
misinterpret.
Yeah. So I think it depends. Confidence, the meaning of confidence, I guess I see differently depending on the day.
Hmm.
But confidence for me is really the the belief that if I want to do something, or if I want to achieve it,
Hmm.
or if I want to look good, or any of those, whatever your want is, that you don't automatically go, no, I can't.
Hmm.
It's the confidence. It's a feeling. It's an emotion.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a skill. It comes
Mm-hmm.
and goes. It's an emotion, and it is this little light in you that doesn't stop and think about it. You just do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
They people talk about walking in a room and lighting it up. It's just the fact that you're willing to walk into the room and not question, like
Yeah. Whether you belong
going,
there or not.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Am I wearing the right thing? Am I going to be too loud? Is this the right group for me?
Yeah.
It's just going and doing and reflecting afterwards, all of those sorts of things. So confidence for me is just that getting up and doing it without overthinking it,
Yeah.
over feeling it.
Yes.
And so I guess it came about for me. I never really, I don't see myself, well, I do now, because I've had to reflect on this over the past couple of years, but it wasn't that I was chasing confidence for women. I
Mm.
just really wanted women to believe in themselves. And when I was talking to a business coach a few years ago, she's like, well, that's confidence.
Mm.
I'm like, well, I guess confidence is a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I really refer to myself as an empowerment coach. But it's confidence is just one, I won't say small, but it's one element. Yeah.
Mm.
And I use the word confidence because a lot of women can sort of associate with, oh, I don't have confidence. I'm not a confident person.
Mm.
Yet there's something that we all believe we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we don't question it. We
Yeah.
just do it. So we are actually confident at things. And so what I do is really get women to start to see the evidence. So be an investigator,
Mm.
find the evidence. I get them to grab a book and write out what is the thing that you didn't think you could do today.
Mm.
And then we draw a column, we draw a
Yeah.
line down the middle. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Didn't you do it? How many times this week did you do it? How many times this week didn't you do it? And we
Yeah.
start to build up this book of going, oh, hang on, I actually can do it. I did
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
And they've got, it's a book of evidence.
Yes.
So when the day comes that they're feeling pretty average and don't believe they've got the motivation, they don't have the consistency, they're not disciplined enough, and all the internal dialogue starts, it's like, get that book back out.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Look
did
how
it.
amazing you are.
Yeah, you did it. And
Yeah.
if you don't want to call yourself amazing, that's fine, but you did it. You're
Yes.
confident at that. You
Yeah.
can do it. So let's reframe the dialogue.
Yeah.
Let's change it up. It's I don't like this idea that we're um, kicking sort of beliefs to the curb or any of those sorts of things, and we're overcoming them,
Mm.
because that sounds like they're never going to come back. And
Yeah.
it's just, whilst we've got emotions and a brain and all of these great things that we have in our body,
Mm.
those questions are always going to come forward.
Yeah.
Those moments of doubt are always going to come forward. But
Yeah.
that book of evidence is almost like your resilience to show you, oh, yeah, okay, I've done hard things before and I can do hard things again. Now I can choose if I want to do that hard thing or not.
Yeah.
But
Because
I
it's,
know I can do it. I'm not doing it because of doubt. I'm
yeah.
doing it because I want to do it. And
Yeah.
that's a completely different, freeing experience.
It's a really important distinction, because we're always going to encounter some sort of ceiling or some sort of barrier, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not about going, oh, I'm 100% confident all the time. Like, well, we're growing and learning as humans, so how can you be confident something you haven't done yet? They're like, well, you can give it a go, but you can be confident in the fact that you can trust yourself to know you've done it because you've done something in the past, whether it's similar or
Exactly.
not. You've made a commitment to yourself, which you've kept, and that confidence will build. And here is your evidence to display it. It's first time I came across this concept was the book The Gap in the Gain.
Oh, I love that book.
Yes, Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, and I was just like, oh my gosh, why do we not all do this? Why do we not all kind of write down or at least reflect? And the only time we do, I think, is when we write a bio, if we're going to speak somewhere, or if we have applying for a job and we have to write up a resume, we kind of put down all the things we've done, and it feels a little bit, oh, wow, I'm like building myself up here. That is a very Australian thing. I don't think other cultures have that same issue, but it's like, oh, I'm really building myself up here, rather than
Yeah.
looking at it as, wow, look at all the things I've done. This is really cool. And these are all the skills that I have. And so that gives me the confidence to be able to try something else.
Mm,
Even if it falls flat, I've learned a lot in the process.
yeah.
And let's use those learnings to help with the confidence stack, not the self-doubt stack.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I used to work in corporate, and I was working in HR and would have to do performance reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And as an employee in corporate, we have to have our performance reviews done.
Yeah.
So, but I don't even know, I had definitely not read that book. So I don't know where it came from, but it was very much a behavior that I got into, of starting to keep a folder of when you would get an email saying, hey, great job on this.
Yeah.
Or because what I learned was, and this still is true to the day, when I go to the doctor, it might have been 6 weeks, it might have been 6 months since I last went to the doctor. You can
Mm.
guarantee when I walk in there, my mindset is, oh, I'm great today. When they ask, when people ask you, how are you going? Oh, I'm great today.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm taking action. That's why I'm great today.
Yeah.
But I have to write down all of the things
Mm.
that have shown up for me, but I've learnt to do that because our memories are so short when we're asked, how are you today? How do you
Yeah.
think you went at something? Oh, I
Yeah.
can't even remember. So keeping that log of evidence,
Mm.
whether it's good or bad, that's only labels that we place on it. Keeping the
Mm.
evidence, even if it's just to remind us.
Yes.
But I do remember my mum giving me a journal when I was in high school, and I think I only ever wrote in it once. I've never been, and listen to this, that was a belief coming out there. I've never been a writer.
Mm.
Um, my preference of communication is talking, hence love podcasts and lives. But I am a talker, and that's my preference in communication.
Mhm.
But the journaling, and again, I have to thank 2020 for this
Mm.
because I had time.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
had time to write in a book, get my favorite things out, which were post-it notes and colored pens. And you just have to find your way of doing it. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And somebody said to me, it doesn't matter how you start. If it's the blank paper that scares you, write a to-do list. And
Mm.
so that's how my reflections all started, with a to-do list. And they gradually, I would write feelings down next to those things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm journaling or I'm reflecting. And
Yeah.
it's become so much easier. Like any tip like that, when the more you do it, the better at you become, the easier it becomes.
Yes. And you get started faster and you start to see the benefits.
You see the benefits, the momentum builds, and you keep
Yeah.
going because you know it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like that with meditation. The amount of times I was like, I should meditate, I should meditate. And then, but I sit there and like, I tried to do some last night and my head just fills with all of these ideas. I'm like, oh, I need to write that down. Oh, I need to write that down. I'm like, well, in a way, the meditation is freeing my
Working.
mind to come up with the ideas. So that's kind of a form of meditation as
It
well.
is, yeah. It's
So it's,
definitely a
yeah,
way. It's working, right? Because until all of that's out, you won't reach that higher state that they
yes,
talk about
yeah.
in
And then I got
meditation.
there and I fell asleep.
You reach the higher state.
I teacher or whatever state it is. Yes. Uh, but I think
Love it.
ultimately it's stripping away the labels, the expectations. I totally connected when you said, that we're going to fix the beliefs. So I always, when I talk about like money mindset, I was like, we're going to work out how to help you manage your money mindset because it's not
Mhm.
about fixing it. You're never going to get rid of the stories because some of them are linked to actual experiences. And we don't want to eradicate your past. You are a
No,
result of your past, and that's a great thing. So it's about going, okay, when the triggers happen, once you become aware of what they are, you can then have tools and strategies to know what to do with them. And you
that's
can
right.
build habits in to try and make it easier to do the things that will get you where you want to go rather than beating yourself up about all the time. Like the amount of times I hear people like, oh, I wish I'd started this 5 years ago. I was like, okay, well, then let's start it now so that you're not saying that again in another 5 years' time.
Yeah,
And does
yeah,
it really matter if you start with $5 or $1,000? You can do either, but just start. And then as
absolutely.
stuff comes up and you like, I've had people like, oh, I get to a certain amount and then an emergency happens and it goes, I was like, okay, well, you've got a story around that you can't save or that, you've always end up with emergency. So you always have to like deal with that. That's not to
Mm.
say they're never going to happen again once you've dealt with it. They probably will, but you'll get over it faster
You'll
because you'll
have
know what to do.
evidence to show that you can
Yes,
move past it.
that's it.
It's a real reframe. It's a practice in reframe every single time. We
Yeah.
don't move on from those stories
Mm.
because those stories saved you at some point. They protected you at some point. So it's kind of worth just sitting there and thinking, okay, that belief protected me from something.
Mm.
And I acknowledge that and I want to say thank you to that belief for that.
Yeah.
But I'm okay now.
Yeah.
I'm not in that position anymore. So I don't need you right now.
Mm.
I need another belief, and this is the belief I'm going to have. And
Yes.
that's how I've started to look at it,
Yeah.
because I may need that belief again at some point. I don't know. I can't control everything in the world. So
Yes.
I may need it. But right now I don't. And I want to say thank you for looking after me. Thank you for showing up to try and look after me again.
Mm.
But I'm okay in that area right now. I don't need you. So I'm going to have the belief that I am great at writing and I'm working on it every single day.
Mm,
Or I am very good with my money and I am working on it every single day. I'm
mm,
checking my numbers, I'm
yeah.
paying attention, I'm listening to podcasts, and I'm reminding myself of the things that I do.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's a lot more validating and helpful than a blanket affirmation.
Yes. Yeah.
One size does not fit all. And I guess this is where I struggle with women who sort of come to me and say, "Oh, that seems really nice, Francis. You've got a really nice life. I would like that, but that feels like a dream. I'm stuck in my circumstances. I can't have that."
Mm,
Whether it's because of money, whether it's because career, their belief is they're stuck that way. And I struggle with that myself because I have evidence showing
yeah.
that I can move past all of those things. I've been bankrupt. When I was a single parent, I had to go bankrupt.
Mm,
And I have recovered from that, and I live in a beautiful house, and
yeah.
everything financially is okay. Conveniently just looked at my phone and saw 1111 again. But it's the if not now, similar to what women are saying to you, it's the same
Mm,
thing. If not now, when?
yes.
We're in our 40s, our 50s. If not now, when?
Yeah.
You deserve this.
Mm,
You deserve to move past those stories and make new stories. You deserve the things that you see that you dream about.
yeah.
You deserve to have them.
Yeah.
And the only way you can have them is by saying yes right now.
Yeah. And recognizing it's I always remember when I went to a John D. Martini talk many years ago, and he talked about the concept of fear being future events appearing real. And I was like, yes, it's a future-based scenario that may or may not happen. But our reptilian brain, which is designed to keep us safe,
Yes.
will always kick in to validate the fear because they're like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And you're like, and this is where anxieties tend to build too, because you create all these incredible scenarios. Like I'm always amazed at the type of scenarios that can come up. There's a lot of creativity there.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, but if something else could happen, that if we're going to start to go, I'm going to recognize that there's this reptilian brain here that's trying to keep me safe. So thank you. That's great. When there's a bus coming and you intuitively tell me not to step in front of it, that's fantastic. That's
Thank
why I
you.
need you.
Yeah.
But when it comes to holding me back from actually achieving or even striving for something, that's when I want you to just be quiet for the moment and
Mm.
let me come up with another scenario that I'm going to look at my list of things that I've done in the past to give me some evidence that I've actually
Yeah.
achieved so that I can make that step forward. So there's all these iterations, and it's that recognizing the humanness, and that's also when it's important to have the right people around you
Absolutely.
because then you can go, okay, I'm feeling this. I really need someone to tell me I can do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can still have that self-doubt, but we have that around us. And they're like, well, remember when you did blah? And this is great when you've got people around you've known you for a while.
Yes.
They will remember stuff and they'll remember it in a way totally differently to you. And it might even be something that you've forgotten about. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize that had that much impact on you. It did. Okay, cool. Yep. Okay. I'm off again.
Yeah.
We get that little boost. So
And
it's,
that's that investigation. That's
yeah,
the and again, this is why we don't want to stop our minds from challenging and questioning us.
yeah,
We just want it to be less critical.
yes. Yeah.
Well, it'll be less critical when you can turn around and say, well, I appreciate that you're
Mm,
trying to protect me right now, but I just need to think about it in a few different ways. So let me speak to three other people
mm,
and then circle back and look at all of it.
yeah.
And you'll feel safe because I'm doing a risk assessment.
Yeah.
If we want to look at it that way, you'll sort of feel safe because I'm looking at
Yeah.
all the risks.
Yeah.
But I also need to broaden my view a little bit. So I'm
Yeah.
going to investigate.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what that reptilian brain, again, that's kind of what it's
Mm.
wanting. It's like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure? Oh, do I need
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
No, yeah, okay, I see you're investigating. Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. I
I
feel
feel I
safe.
feel safe. Yeah.
And my nervous system, okay, that feels safe. Everything's okay.
Mm.
And that's, yeah, it's I feel like when we get into our 40s, we're more open to doing these things,
Yeah.
but only when we have people showing us that it is okay to do these things.
Yeah. I
So
love
again,
it.
those people around you are
Yeah.
so important.
Yes. Oh, so much so. We could go on
Yes.
talking about this. I know we both love it. So how do you help people? Like how could people find out more about you and what you do? How do you do what you do?
So there's a couple of ways that I do what I do. So I work with women on a one-to-one basis. So do one-to-one coaching, and we very much start at the let's get some evidence.
Yeah.
What is it that where are you right now, and where do you want to be in a week, in
Hmm.
2 weeks? It's sort of we don't go too far forward. And right now, tell me about yourself. And so we do some investigative work, because
Yeah.
what I find is a lot of women, when they do come to me, they don't know themselves. They've lost sight because busy looking after everybody else, busy
Yeah.
being who we think we're meant to be. And so they actually really don't know. So we investigate that. And so we do that through one-to-one coaching. I have also just wanted to broaden that, because the community aspect that we've focused on so much today,
Yeah.
it plays such a big part that I've now created a membership as
Hmm.
well. So running a membership on a platform where we have regular group coaching calls, and you can also get one-to-one coaching if you like. So they're my two main ways that you can work with me.
Yeah.
Best way to get in contact is Instagram at Frances Scadden, or my website, francescadden.com.au.
Okay. We'll put those links in the show notes. So
Yeah.
if you're driving, you don't have to write them
Yeah,
down.
please. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay safe.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Francis. Really, really awesome. And it's a great reminder, even if probably many listening to this might know some of this, but putting it all together and articulating it in the way that you do is really, really good. I got a lot out of it as well. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you. I love our chat. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's a great way to spend the day.
Yes, I know. We could keep going. But we'll
Talk,
leave it there
two
for
talkers.
today. And everyone have a lovely week. And again, thank you, Francis. And we'll talk soon.
We will. Thanks, everyone.